If you're seeing a child and they love trains and they have a frontal or lateral lisp, please think of this sound. I want you to think of the train slowing down sound. Now, this is a really great metaphor for adapting the long T method. This is where we get that aspirated sound and we turn it into an S. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to take this knowledge and this interest of trains and you're going to help the child learn a new sound. Okay, we're not calling it the S sound. And what we're going to say is, hey, do you think you can make the sound of a train on the tracks like this? You know, you can have a train, you can use gestures. And again, we're making these long aspirated sounds. Once they have that, and it is that clear T, it has to be a good T sound, you're going to say to the child, I wonder if we can slow the train down and put on the brakes, okay? Because it makes a really long sound when we do that. This is what it sounds like, you know. And you can say we've got to put on the brakes with our teeth, you know, or we've got to put on the brakes with our tongue. You can give lots of those little cues. But this idea of the train slowing down sound or putting on the brakes can be so meaningful and easy to understand for children.